You're on the phone with them, and suddenly their tone shifts. That warm voice, turns icy. They start listing every mistake you've made this month. Not yelling, worse. Calm, surgical precision. And your stomach drops because you realize you just witnessed the exact moment they felt control slipping away. This isn't about you. It never was. What you just experienced is a textbook reaction when a narcissist's grip starts to loosen. And if you've ever felt confused after an interaction like this, like you're walking on eggshells around someone who used to adore you, you need to recognize these signs before they escalate. Stay with me, because in 90 seconds, I'll show you the third behavior, the silent weapon most people miss until it's too late. And by the end, you'll have a three-word phrase that instantly resets power dynamics when they try to pull you back in. Let's clear something up first. We're not playing armchair psychologist here. I'm not saying your boss, ex, or parent is a narcissist. That's a clinical diagnosis. What we are talking about are narcissistic behaviors, patterns that show up when someone's fragile sense of control gets threatened. And trust me, I know this territory. 3 years ago, I was in a relationship where I kept thinking, why do I feel so small around someone who says they love me? I'd walk away from conversations feeling foggy, guilty for no reason, like I'd missed some invisible rule. It took me 6 months to realize I wasn't crazy. I was being systematically destabilized by someone losing their grip on me. Here's what changed everything: recognizing the sequence. Narcissists don't just get angry when they lose control. They deploy predictable behaviors, like chess moves, in a specific order. Today, we're covering 7 of them, but number 3? That's the quiet one, the one that feels like concern, but actually isolates you faster than rage ever could. I'll break it down at the 6-minute mark, but first, let's talk about the opening gambit they always use. Sign number 1 hits fast: the sudden devaluation. One week, they're your favorite person. They're texting you good morning, sharing inside jokes, making future plans. Then, bam, you set a tiny boundary. You say, I can't talk after 9 p.m., or I need space this weekend. And overnight, you become the villain. They'll casually mention to mutual friends how needy you've become, or drop a comment like, I guess some people change when things get real. Notice the pattern? It's not about your boundary. It's about the threat your boundary represents. Boundaries equals loss of control, and their nervous system treats that like a fire alarm. I saw this with my friend Maya last year. She'd been dating this guy for 4 months, seemed perfect. Then she told him she couldn't cancel her weekly therapy appointment for his birthday dinner. His response? Wow, I guess your therapist matters more than me. Not angry, just disappointed, like she'd failed a test she didn't know she was taking. Within 48 hours, he told 3 of their friends she was emotionally unavailable. Classic devaluation. Not because she did something wrong, because she dared to exist outside his control. Watch for this subtle shift when criticism suddenly feels personal instead of situational. You left dishes in the sink becomes, you're so selfish, you always think of yourself first. That escalation from behavior to character, that's the control slipping, and it's always followed by sign number 2, the victim pivot. They just criticized you harshly, and now they're the wounded one. You'll see them sigh heavily, look away, maybe even tear up. I just try so hard with you, they'll say, or I guess I'll never be enough. And suddenly, you're comforting them, apologizing for making them feel bad. This isn't remorse. It's a tactical retreat designed to make you chase their approval again. Here's why this works so well. Humans hate seeing others in pain. It triggers our empathy reflex, and narcissists weaponize that reflex. They don't want you to stop questioning them. They want you to feel guilty for questioning them, because guilt is easier to manage than boundaries. I fell for this hard in my early 20s. My roommate would scream at me for borrowing her sweater without asking, then spend the next hour crying in her room about how unloved she felt. I'd end up buying her coffee, apologizing for triggering her, all while she kept my favorite mug by accident for weeks. I wasn't being kind. I was being manipulated. And the worst part, I thought I was the problem. If this sounds familiar, breathe. You're not heartless for not falling for the tears. You're waking up. And that leads us straight to the third sign, the one that kept me trapped for years because it felt like love. Sign number 3, the isolation surge. This is the silent killer. No yelling, no trauma, just subtle separation. They start forgetting to invite you to group hangouts, casually mention how your friends don't really get you, or plant seeds like your sister always takes your side, makes it hard for me to be honest with you. Sound familiar? Here's the psychology. Narcissists maintain control through triangulation, positioning themselves as your sole source of validation. When they sense you're pulling away, they don't fight the relationship, they fight your support system, because a person with strong outside connections is a person who can walk away. Last winter, I watched my cousin go through this with her partner. He never yelled, but he'd say things like, "Your friends only call you when they need something," or "Your mom's so critical of me, I feel like I can't be myself around her." Within 6 months, she'd stopped seeing her college friends entirely, not because he demanded it, but because he made her doubt them. That's the genius of this move. They never have to forbid anything, they just make you choose isolation. And if you're nodding right now, if you've ever canceled plans with friends because it's easier to explain, that's not your fault. That's a grooming pattern. But recognizing it, that's your exit ramp. Because once you see the isolation surge coming, you can armor up. Text a friend before the interaction. "If I seem off later, remind me I'm allowed to leave." Small acts of connection break their control faster than any argument ever could. Now, let's talk about what happens when these first 3 moves fail them. Sign number 4, the rage switch. This isn't explosive anger. That's too obvious. I'm talking about the cold rage, the one that shows up as sudden silence or helpful criticism disguised as concern. "I'm just worried you'll embarrass yourself at that job interview," or the weaponized memory, bringing up a mistake you made 2 years ago with surgical precision. Why cold rage? Because hot rage burns bridges. Cold rage? It keeps you guessing. It makes you work harder for their approval. And that effort, your effort to fix things, that's the control returning to them. I'll never forget the day my old manager did this. I'd pushed back on an unrealistic deadline. Her response? A smile. "Of course, do what you think is best." Then for 3 days, zero communication. No eye contact in hallways, CCing my director on trivial emails. I spent 72 hours mentally rehearsing apologies for a crime I didn't commit. That's the goal, not to punish you, to make you police yourself. Watch for this tell. When their words say, "It's fine," but their energy says, "You're dead to me." That disconnect, that's the rage switch flipped, and it's always followed by